This literature survey will be on intelligent tutoring systems. Now, all literature surveys, literature reviews, begin with an introduction to the topic, and that usually begins with a definition. So here you can see we're typing in a definition of intelligent tutoring system. Also note that if you have any terminology that needs to be made into an acronym, is that the first time in your document when it's mentioned, you need to write it out completely and then put the acronym in brackets after it. The literature survey of any research paper will be the place that you'll find the most references, and these are links to works that you've read and incorporated into your own document. The best way to write your references is to keep track of them right from the beginning. What I'm showing now is the Word plugin for Zotero, which will access the database of publications that you've recorded when you're using Google Scholar. From the list, you select the publication that you would like to use as your reference, and you can insert it also into the references section. This will get continually updated as you add more references to your document. The key to a successful literature review is to find all the relevant and latest information on the state of the art of the area that you're researching. It's up to you to determine what's relevant and what is not relevant. You'll find a lot of literature in the area that you're researching, and you may need to narrow that down so that your literature review doesn't become too big, and it needs to be focused. So what we're doing on the screen currently is changing our search for intelligent tutoring systems to emotional intelligent tutoring systems. Now, having narrowed that down, we can look at the different types of intelligent tutoring systems that have emotions built in. And in this case, there's actually two. So there's one that can sense emotions in people, and there's one that can generate and act emotionally. When you start breaking down into subcategories of items and defining what they are, it's very helpful to give examples. And when you give examples, you're also giving references to other existing research material. Once you've identified a paper and you're reading through it, the best place to start is the abstract. That will give you an overview of what's in the entire paper. It should also provide you with some key statements about the research area that you're looking into. And immediately we can see here that this paper is suggesting a strong link between emotions and learning, which is a key part of the research if we're looking at creating artificial intelligences that are capable of teaching human subjects. So another part of the literature review is to provide evidence that the research field is legitimate. So in this case, we're asking about emotions in intelligent tutoring systems, and one of the questions would be why bother doing that? And we've already found a paper that suggests that there is a strong link between emotions and learning, so we need to follow this link up. Now, as you'll see here in this demonstration of creating a literature survey, it's not a linear task. So you kind of jump back and forward between things. So now that we've found out that there is a link between emotions and learning, then now we need to track down some evidence of this. And we need to look for another research paper that will, say this. So now we're on the hunt for a research article on emotions and learning. And the best place would be somewhere from psychology and something recent. So we put this into Google Scholar and have a look through the papers that we've found. Now we only need some research that actually states this. So the easiest thing to do is find a paper or even just an abstract that is available to us that we don't have to purchase or go looking any further for. Now, because an abstract tells you what's in the entire paper, you don't necessarily need to find the entire paper or read the entire paper to reference it. So in this case, we've found a brain research paper, and in the abstract, it actually indicates that there is a link between emotions and learning. So we can now reference that to support our statement in our literature review that there is such a link. We now go back to our Word document and type in a statement saying that emotions are an integral part of learning, and at the same time we put a reference on that sentence to justify why we've said it and to also give other readers some evidence that we've found. And it's a matter of keeping a track of all of the documents that you've been reading and referencing. So you should, as you read papers, put the reference to those into Zotero in your browser so that later on you can then just insert them into your Word document. So using the Zotero plugin provides you with a means of linking those two activities together. After you've entered all of the details about the journal article into Zotero in your browser plugin, you can then go back into your Word document and simply click on the Zotero plugin for that to insert a citation, select the journal article from the list, and notice that it's automatically added into the reference section at the end of the paper. This saves you a lot of time and work at the end. As you're writing the literature review, you'll start to ask yourself questions that need to be answered, and the way that I keep track of these is to highlight the text. This is going to be text that's not part of the final document, but just notes for myself, and if you're working with other people, for them to identify which things need to be done that aren't part of the final text. Another way to support the research that you're doing, or to justify it, is to have a look at the discussion and further work section. These are usually at the end of the paper. This section will review what was talked about in the paper, any results and analysis, as well as conclusions drawn from the data. More often than not, in this section you'll also find a couple of paragraphs that talk about the future work and research directions that this work can take. Take note of these because they become useful in justifying what you're doing. At the end of your literature review, you should discuss what others think is the future direction for this area of research, and then you can say how your research is going to fit into this. So in this example, the future work from the paper has been copy and pasted into the literature review, and along with it I've put in references to where that information came from so that later on, if I do use that information and paraphrase it into my own document, I know where to find it. The literature review should address several areas. The questions that you should be asking yourself as you read through research papers are: what problem or issue does the author propose? Is the paper relevant to your research? How has the author approached their research? What is the relationship between the theoretical and research perspectives in that research field? Has the author evaluated the current literature? Is the analysis of the data accurate and relevant? In what way does the author's work contribute to your understanding of the problem? And what are the strengths and limitations of the author's work?